Okay. That was an interesting ending. That was an interesting ending. I legitimately thought he was gonna pull out some kind of shiv or some kind of switchblade or something and just stab Dexter, but no, suicide was the last thing on his life. He put himself on death row. He put himself on death row, gave himself one last meal and one last kind of day to live, um, and then went ahead and offed himself. Damn. God damn. Okay. So this episode was, I think, an interesting way to continue things. I think I mean, there were different aspects that tied into each other pretty well, and I think it took a good I think it was a good way to look at Dexter's Dark Passenger from an outside perspective and primarily from Debs and see just how kind of just how just how long it can take to at least try and understand someone from that viewpoint, or at least just how quickly people can kind of misunderstand what living by that kind of perspective is like. And with Dex, I think him explaining his Dark Passenger was an interesting thing to see. Him saying that Harry found him at such a young age and it got him too early too. I think he was still a lot older than Harrison. He was old enough to unluckily to be unlucky enough to process this stuff and have it crack his psyche open like an egg and just seep in through the cracks and stuff. So because of that, I think once you asked him how long he'd been doing this, I was half expecting him to say, "Oh, since I was a kid," because I think he did have the urge to kill when he was a kid, but I think he started actually being this like a serial killer, like being the Bayham Butcher when he was 20. And I'd say, I mean, not to be offensive to Michael C. Hall back when this was being filmed and stuff, but I think he looks like he's hitting 30, just about. I think so. Maybe, yeah. I think he's hitting just about 30, maybe a couple of years off. But yeah. But I think I thought she was asking how long he'd had the urge. But I think given that she just found out he kills people, I think she was focusing on the killing part. So him being the Bayhopper Butcher has been going on since then. And I think Deb kind of chastising him for being the killer and saying, "Oh, all these people in this box, in this blood slide you've got here, they are the real victims here." And then Dexter just kind of scoffing at that and being like, "Really? They're the victims? They are murderers, rapists, people who took the human rights and the innocence away from other people. Like, they're the people who violated actual human rights." And he's kind of, delivering the justice they deserve, and then I think her response of "Oh, there's a police department for that. We have an actual justice system that works to capturing those kinds of people." And he's like, "Yeah, the justice system doesn't always work. In fact, from my experience, it very rarely works, and people still seep in through the cracks. Either they are scary enough to stop people from testifying against them, or they can find good enough lawyers, or they can find a way to pay them to pay their way through the system. So they either don't go to jail at all, or they don't go long enough and they still find a way out and get back to doing whatever it is that they enjoy doing." So with Dex's one, again, he's pretty much like the Puncher. He delivers the final blow that actually puts them out for good, as opposed to just kind of being more kind of controlling and passive aggressive about it and being like, "Oh, you're going to stop because I told you to stop, not because I actually took away the power that gives you to not because I gave you not because I took away what gives you the power to do what you do anyway." So yeah, and like him just going down that list, like the choir director who raped little boys, and like a people who do this and that and stuff. And I think. Yeah, I think he just made a good point of saying the people he was taught to kill and understand that there are those who deserve it. I think what they should have done is, or I think what I would have liked to see more of is them actually exploring more of how Harry raised him. I think with this episode, Deb solely focused on the fact that, "Oh, this may be all of his fault." Sure, I mean, there was one mention, pretty much, one or two mentions of Harry, and then Harry appeared as a force ghost of his for as he usually does. But then Debra decided to focus more on the fact that, "Oh, this is Dexter's thing, so he's kind of solely to blame for it," as opposed to I mean, again, he told her that Harry taught him, but then I think it would have been better to actually explore more of that, like, you know, like, well, what do you mean Harry Harry taught you, like, what did Dad teach you, what did he say to you, stuff like that, and explore how and why, like, Harry reached that point of, like, nurturing him, as opposed to being like, you know, Dexter, you're killing these people, this is something that you're doing, so you can't really blame it on the past people, and stuff like that. So, and, you know, it's pretty much what Harry did, like, actually showing him, like, you know, okay, so you can't control it, because you know, like, if there was a way to control it, then I would have tried it, and if it was a good enough way, it would have actually worked. But, you know, Harry, realizing that, you know, like, I mean, I don't really remember Harry actually trying much to deflect his kind of urge for blood, or his need to kill. I don't remember Harry trying much. I think maybe he tried a bunch of things, but then him being the police officer, him being the man of the law, and him understanding that there are people out there that are better, that the world is better off without. He focused more on that, and then realized that, you know, Dexter has this urge to kill. You know, he has that urge to actually put the lights out and stuff. So, what better way? I mean, the chances of that. I mean, I think he did see it well enough to know that it's not something that can be easily changed. Like, the time put into trying to change it and turn him normal again, is time better spent into teaching him how to control it and how to put it towards something good. So that's what Harry actually saw. Like, you know, I think, you know, he didn't try everything that would have worked. He tried it enough to know that, you know, at the end of the day, there are bad people in the world, and the system isn't as strong or as useful as some would like to think it is. So, you know, the time put towards changing him would be time better spent actually teaching him how to, you know, utilize this kind of damage better. And it's, you know, it's like, it's not even therapy of any kind. It's just literally teaching. It's literally telling him it's okay to kill, so long as he kills the right people. So it's kind of turning him into a weapon of sorts. But yeah, I think that would have been something better to explore, the fact that Harry actually taught him how to kill people, and he gave him the code to, you know, Harry's defense would be that, you know, he taught him the code to make sure that he didn't kill the wrong people, and that he kept himself safe and protected, and he gave himself a good cover to maintain that kind of protection. But at the end of the day, Harry always did kind of teach him and remind him that, you know, he can never have a normal life because of what he is and who he is. And it's like, I've kind of a tangent here, but I've after having finished off Crisis on Infinite Earths, I've decided to pick back up on Black Lightning. I binged season 1 in the space of like 3 days. I think, yeah, 3 days, and James Remar, who plays Harry Morgan, is in that as well. He plays Peter Gamby. And I just noticed that even in that show, like, well, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Black Lightning, but even in that show, he basically raises a young boy up to be a superhero. He is, like, inadvertently one of the reasons the boy becomes a superhero, but then, you know, he, you know, feeling a sense of protection over him because of what he did, he actually raises the boy to become Black Lightning and to become the superhero. So he plays, even in that one, he plays a mentor figure who's done some pretty questionable things, and who has inadvertently been the cause of some tragedies and stuff. So I feel like, you know, like, from the things I've seen him in, he always plays that kind of mentor figure who's done some questionable things and who has inadvertently led to some darker things, and he's trying to do good and stuff like that. But yeah, but it just reminded me of that, like, seeing him in Black Lightning. So yeah, and in Black Lightning, he's not dead. Well, I mean, I've just finished season 1, and I don't know if he dies in season 2. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, and I think it was just good. I think it was interesting seeing, like, them kind of exploring the two different kind of definitions of victimhood. Like, you know, with Debra, she like, the victims she sees are basically just the blood slides in the box. She just sees them. I mean, she only saw him kill Travis. Travis was the only one who actually killed anyone else. She hasn't really had time to think about who else he might have killed. Just the fact that he's killed people. That was all she was thinking at that point. The fact that Dexter has killed people. She didn't put too much thought into thinking who he had killed or why he had killed them. Just the fact that, okay, these blood slides contain blood samples from the people he has killed. The people he's killed. So that, I think that was the main reason behind her kind of labeling them as victims, and Dexter correcting her, saying those victims, they hunted and preyed on innocent souls. And, you know, they hurt innocent people, so I was delivering them the justice that the justice system itself could not deliver to them effectively enough. So yeah, that was interesting to see. And I think Debra, wanting to change Dex. I think she's way too optimistic. I think she's being way too optimistic about this stuff. I think she's like, I think she's like not really thinking clearly enough about how deeply this has affected Dexter. She literally just sees a killer who needs to be stopped with the killing, but she can't bring herself to kill him herself. She can't bring herself to arrest him or anything like that. So she wants to change him as best she can and at least keep her brother around. That's what she wants. But I think she's being way too optimistic in like with like how she's going about trying to change him by basically like, just keeping an eye on him and making sure that he knows what to do if he ever feels the blood or sees the blood again, and all that sort of stuff. So I think even with that, she's being pretty optimistic, and I don't know. I feel like the way she's going about it is like there may be a few bad days, but as long as by the end of as long as there is like like a brighter path ahead of us, and Dexter can see the good in himself and be a sunshine and Frosty Swirl boy again, then all is good with the world. Like with Dexter, it is not how it works. We've seen throughout the entirety of these seasons, we've seen just how fucked up his mentality has been and how how screwed up his psyche has been because of all of this. And it's been the main premise of the show, the fact that he cannot change this. This is like a core essence, like a core part of who he is, and it's a curse of his that he's had to hold on to for a very, very long time. It's a part of him that that no matter how badly he wants to change it, he cannot. It's not something that's easily changeable, and it's not something that he's kind of able to let go of. I think if he does let go of it, it just means he lets go. Like, he lets go of the control that he has. The control that she wants him to control it more. The control that he has now is abiding by the code every second of every day of every week and all that sort of stuff. Like abiding by the code is what little control he already has. Like killing those who deserve it, disposing of the body properly, and actually maintaining that cover of being, just being like another, like a working class citizen in Miami. That is the control that he has. Like, stopping killing as a whole, his urges are going to build and build and build, and it's going to, be like a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. Like with losing Rita, I think, he was so shocked by that loss, and he didn't really go killing anyone. He was struggling to maintain that urge to kill again, and also kind of processing his loss. And in the end, he just ended up beating a man to death in a roadside toilet place. So with this, I think it's like this isn't like some kind of drug addiction. I mean, addiction affects people in different ways, and it's like like depending on what you're addicted to, there are different ways you can do it, but. Again, serial killing is, it's a much more kind of soul-consuming thing. It's a much more soul-consuming addiction. Like, serial killing, like, the main aspect of that is pretty much killing. Like, you are literally, like, it's not killing because you, it is killing because you want to kill, but it's like, say you have another addiction and you become more and more manic and uncontrollable and aggressive because of said addiction, you'd be killing because you want to get whatever it is you're addicted to. But with this one, it's like him killing, that is the addiction itself. Like I think the words aren't really coming to mind properly to phrase it any better than that. But I think it's the type of addiction where it's like I think at this point he's too far gone. He's been too far gone for a long time. Harry saw that, and Harry didn't want to have to do it, but he figured it was the only way. It was the only way, and he had enough. He cared enough about Dexter to want to still see him grow up and do something. But he knew that the core essence of him would still be his dark passenger. That would still be who he is. That would still be what he is. And I think maybe he did feel like maybe one day he can still have something, but for the most part, it's better to tell him that he can't instead of lying to him with a yes and giving him false hope. Like, don't worry, you can still grow up and have a family. Like, no, it's like like Harry doesn't even know that for sure. He doesn't want to give him false hope. Like knowing how the world works, especially, it's not a place that's kind to people like Dexter. So giving him false hope would do tons more damage than actual good. So. Yeah, I think Debra going about this, I feel like she's way too optimistic about this stuff. I mean, sure, this one time it worked. He kidnapped Lewis, which we'll fucking get to in a minute. He kidnapped Lewis. He had her in the boot of his car, and then he actually managed to follow Deb's rule. Actually, if he sees red, if he sees blood, he calls up Debra, and he tells her what's happening. So sure, this one time it worked, and Dexter, he seems to be willing to do it. But I think on the one hand, it's like it's not like he's never wanted to not change. It's not like he's never felt the desire to change, but it's more the fact that he's been taught by Harry all along that he can't, and I think that could be used in Debra's defense. Like he's been told his entire life that he can't because of who he is, but this one time he's actually being given the benefit of the doubt, and Debra is the one giving him said benefit of the doubt. Like the one family member he was told would hate him if he ever revealed who he is, but now she's actually willing to give him a chance and actually willing to help him through it. So it's a tricky situation, but yeah, I think it is slightly too optimistic, and especially with the new big bad coming in, it's just like someone new has definitely come along, and they're making their mark. They're making them like the first couple of episodes into this new season, and they're already making their mark. So it's not gonna go too well, I don't think, but we'll see. We'll see exactly how that stuff goes. But yeah, so Lewis. Oh wait, no. Before I get onto Lewis, I want to point out something else. I feel like this is this is a very nice way of diverting from that plot line that we had towards the end of season 6. Like Debra being in love with Dexter. Like I feel like this is a nice way of actually diverting from that plot line of her being in love with Dexter, and it's a nice way that they execute it as well. Like she originally goes to the church to meet him while he's collecting his evidence and confess her love to him, and then she walks in on him killing someone. Like, hey Dexter, I'm in love with. Oh boy, that is a knife, and you're driving it into Travis's heart. Jesus. Okay, that's new. That is definitely unexpected. But yeah, I think it's yeah. I don't know what it was. I mean, starting off, I felt like if they're really going through with this, then it's something that they can't really just gloss over, and they have to go through with it properly and explore it properly and to the best of their ability and stuff. But now it's like, okay, so this is something new that's infinitely more interesting and stuff to be explored. Like Debra being in love with her brother, not really something we'd all want to see, or at least it's not something we'd want to see kind of fleshed out to fruition, whatever that fruition may be. But Debra discovering Dexter's secret, that is something that could actually offer up some more alternative kind of plot lines, and it's something that could actually like in terms of character development, it could definitely kind of serve up some interesting dialogue and scenes and stuff. So that's something that would that actually it's something we would actually want to see, as opposed to her just having nighttime bed fantasies with Dexter or whatever. But yeah, that was what I want to talk about that. But yeah, now Lewis, he is a sociopath. He is. We can confirm that now. His vlog. I don't even know if you can call them vlogs, because I pray to God. I pray to God the internet never saw I pray to God the internet never actually saw any of those videos at all. Blowjob or not, I pray that the internet never saw those videos. But what did he talk about? He talked about some of his action figures. He talked about wanting to see Dexter suffering and lying in his own piss and vomit and all that stuff. And I think Bob Henley, I think Bob Henley. So he was the software CEO thing that he set up. He like Lewis wanted his own spot at the top, so he set up Bob Henley with uncovering like child porn on his computer. I think on his office computer, and then that dude did time. But then I don't know if Lewis actually got bored of it at the end, or if he actually I think. Let me go back and check that. I don't know if he got bored of it, or if he still didn't manage to get the role, or what happened. But let me check. Yeah, okay. So I mean, it didn't really say. I think maybe he might have mentioned being a software CEO to Jamie or something when he was trying to chat her up. But he set that guy up to have child porn on his workstation, and then that guy was facing charges of up to 15 years and stuff. So yeah, I think he's exhibiting sociopathic tendencies. He really does. I think maybe he either wants people to tell him he's good, or that he wants control of some sort. Um, or that he just wants to get back at people who hurt his feelings. Because literally, he Dexter told him that Dexter personally, Dexter gave him his own opinion on his game, and then Lewis took that to heart. He let that knock his self-esteem right out of the park, and wallowed in his own hatred and self-pity for days until he came with a new plan to send Dexter the arm and to cancel his credit cards and stuff. So he was screwing with Dexter all because of that game. So the feeling I get is that he needs people to tell him that he's a good guy or that he does good work. Or he needs other people to build up his own ego. Otherwise, and like one insult, I think. Maybe even a playful insult, but just one insult or like a couple of insults, and he just kind of lets that just knock him down for the rest of the day. Like he said, that the game was his life's work, and he worked on it for 5 years and stuff. And then when Dexter said one bad thing about it, I mean, granted, Dexter did go all in. He was like, this game is offensive, and you should do something else. And why would you do something like this? And he did go pretty in depth, but. I think it's like he still took that to heart enough to want to screw up Dexter's life even more and taunt him with the arm and stuff and his credit cards and stuff. So, but even despite that, he's clearly not heeding Dexter's warning at all. Dexter's warning, Dexter warned him to stay away from him and his family and from Jamie, and he didn't want to see him anywhere else. But he's even after being drugged as well and almost killed, he's just not. He's just ignoring it. He is ignoring it. He's just, completely I figured that would happen as well. He's sure he's all curled up in a ball and he's scared now and he's, fighting back breaths and tears and stuff from that fear. But he sits and wallows in that fear, which then builds up to hatred and anger and stuff like that. And then he just comes up with a whole new plan to fuck with Dexter, and he shows up at his apartment with where Jamie's babysitting Harrison, and then he smooches on Jamie for a bit, and then he tussles Harrison's hair, and then he's like, you know what, Dexter, I'll see you at work tomorrow. He's going directly against all of Dexter's warnings, so he's making it clear that he's not going anywhere. He's there to stay, and if he has a problem with that, then he can deal with Lewis directly. So I feel like Dexter wants to follow Deb's rules. He doesn't want to have to kill him, but he is still going to try and find a way. So I think maybe he's going to say he's going to set Lewis up in the same way. He's going to leave something open on his work on Lewis's workstation. He's going to set him up with something controversial, and he's going to get Lewis fired. And then if that actually works, then Lewis might fire back at Dexter in an even bigger way. I think it's going to be like a cycle of maybe one or two moves from each of them, and then in the end, Dexter might kind of lose control and kill him, or something's gonna happen. But Lewis is most definitely a sociopath. He is definitely sociopathic, so he is definitely a dilemma in this season. But we'll see what exactly happens with that. But yeah, so that was that. We had LaGuerta privately having the blood slide privately analyzed. So she received all the evidence back from Dokes' Bay Harbor Butcher thing, including a picture of him and also the original blood slide that he had. Like Dexter had to replace that one by the time that season ended. So the original blood slides, and I think the way she's going about this would probably be that she is figuring out the fact that maybe either there's a copycat on the case, like someone who knew about Dokes being the Bay Harbor Butcher, and now that Dokes is gone and the Bay Harbor Butcher's gone, maybe there's someone looking to reboot his work, and maybe someone who believes in the ideology or whatever, or that maybe Dokes actually wasn't the Bay Harbor Butcher, and that he was set up and it cost him his life, and something like maybe the real Bay Harbor Butcher is still out there. I think it could possibly be the latter. I think it could be the latter, because I think they don't deal with like when an MO resurfaces. I don't think they deal with copycats very often. Yeah, like even that one guy who Dexter that serial killer dude who was in like a retirement home, like even that one guy, he was never a copycat. He was still the original guy, but he was just old and grumpy as shit now. So he was still just doing his thing. But yeah, so I feel like that might be the way she's going. She might try to investigate who the real Bayharbor Butcher is, because it can't be Dokes. And she knew Dokes personally. I think she was one of the ones who kind of like testified against that. Well, not testified against it, but she was one of the ones who knew better than to believe that Dokes was capable of something like that. So yeah, I feel like she might try and investigate who the real Bayharbor Butcher is, and see who this new bloodslide belongs to, and see what else pops up in future killings. See what else pops up and try and trace it back to them. But yeah, that's that one. That was that. And then we had Tony Rush, which was Kaja's boyfriend. But I recognize him too, that actor. He was in Jessica Jones. He was the police. I think he was a police officer. Yeah, I think he was the police officer that Trish banged. But yeah, so he is in this. He was the one that Kaja was originally dating. And then she left the club one night with Victor Baskov, and then I think maybe Victor. Could Victor have still killed her? Like maybe she was maybe he wanted more than she was willing to do, and then he killed her out of anger because of that. Because I originally thought maybe he killed her. Maybe Tony killed her, but then he tasked Victor with actually getting rid of the body, and then he failed to do that. But no, I think maybe Victor himself wanted more than she was willing to give, and then something happened. Then things went downhill from there. But Tony still blabbed to the police, and then that was enough for Isaac Serco. Now we know Isaac Serco to actually He spotted him out the most likely candidate. He kind of led him on, saying, I actually followed, I know you blabbed to the police, and then he came through, I talked, but I didn't tell them anything. He's like, yeah, I never had you followed. I just knew you were the most likely person to actually blab to them, so, yeah, but I think, that scene with Isaac in the strip club owner's office, that was intimidating as crap. I think, I don't know who the actor is, but that was, I think, that was a really well done scene. Like him just kind of, I think every second I was like, there's going to be some kind of a surprise attack coming, like a knife to the stomach or a punch to the face or just some kind of silenced pistol being pulled out and shot to the face or something. Like he's going to pull out something, and then he had his hand on his neck, and the next thing I was like, oh god, it's coming. But the actor himself, like he knows how to pull off like an intimidating scene with just so much built up tension. But but Tony was the one he ended up killing. Straight, and it was an insta kill too. It was an insta kill, like no kind of hesitation, no kind of he picked up the screwdriver, but as soon as he picked it up, it's like there was no picking it up and then flipping it or turning it over in his hands before he killed him. Just like pick it up, boom, just like literally throwing it straight from the trolley to his eye, like literally, like not even holding it for more than a second before throwing it. So that was some insta kill stuff. But yeah, screwdriver through the eye. That is not a very nice way to go, but I think it was, given how quick it was pretty much instant, and he had no time to react or feel anything. Maybe the pressure of it going in, but nothing more than that, hopefully. And they did cover up the crime as well. They wiped his fingerprints off of the screwdriver, so they can't trace it back to him. But then now, I think now, Angel and Quinn will know that someone is onto them because, first Tony blabbed to them and now he's dead. The one person who was willing to talk to them is now dead, so they will know that someone is out there looking to keep the identity of the identity of the shooter under cover and under wraps. But I think they know Victor Baskov's name now, so I think more kind of research into that, they'll probably find out that he's missing or something. So yeah, I think. I mean, they probably won't put together, someone killed him as an act of vengeance, but they'll find out that he went off the map too, and he's gone missing, so most likely he's gonna, be declared dead after some time. But Isaac Serco, he he is being put up to be quite the intimidating antagonist this season, so it'll be interesting to see Dexter going up against him. And I think this season was about Dexter having one plotline of going up against this new big bad, and then another plotline of actually being taught and told to control his urges by Debra. That's going to be two very, very clashy and conflicting kind of plot lines to follow. So, yeah, I have no idea how any of that stuff's going to go, but he does. I think Isaac either runs or has some kind of like head or like leading role in the Koshka Brotherhood, which is a Ukrainian-run drug ring of sorts. So yeah, I mean, he does seem to have a fairly like leadership type kind of role. Like he does kind of like monitor the ins and outs, and he gives people orders, and he has his own private security following him around. So yeah, he does, and he has no problems killing people, and his security will happily kind of clean up the evidence for him. So yeah, he's clearly a man of his business, and he has no problems, trying to figure out how to solve said business. So yeah, but that's pretty much all I have from this one. Yeah, I think it's just, I think it's kind of weird to see how I think it's clear and weird to see how optimistic and slightly over optimistic Debra is with all of this going on. But I don't know how all of this is going to be continuing. That ending as well, and I think the ending of Dex over time talking to Wayne Randall and just figuring out that Wayne, him first saying he always had a conscience, but Wayne was still Wayne Randall, like the person doing the killing, was just too busy doing the killing for the conscience to ever peak. And then in the end, it's like he never changed. In the end, he still wanted to kill, but he knew that there was no changing it. He was in prison for a long time because of what he did. There was no life for him to take in prison. Nothing else he could do, so he kind of set up that falsehood of telling the police where he actually buried the bodies, all because he just wanted one last day of sunshine and a frosty swirl. So just one last day of sunshine and a frosty swirl before he offed himself. There was nowhere else for him to go, nowhere else for him to go in life as well, and he lost his partner in crime. So there was no one else for him. There was nothing else for him. So he put himself on death row. He put himself on death row. Gave him one last day in the sun and one last meal as well, and then decided to just take the higher road down to hell. So yeah, that was interesting to see unfold. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have from this episode. So looking forward to seeing how all of this stuff continues to unfold in the next one and seeing where everything leads. But yeah, that was Dexter Season 7, Episode 2, titled Sunshine and Frosty Swirl, and a Frosty Swirl. I don't know. But either way, Sunshine and Frosty Swirl. But yeah, that is it. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, then salt and burn that like button. Comment on what you thought of the episode and what you think is coming up next in this season. And yeah, that's it. So, I will see you guys next time.